afternoon and welcome to Moments with Pastor E. This is Pastor E coming to you from NECTN in Randolph, Massachusetts. Father, we thank you for this moment in time. Thank you that you've allowed us the privilege to be here live and on the air. We thank you for your mercies and your grace. We ask you to bless this program. In Jesus' name, amen. So, first of all, I have to be the weather girl. I always tell you about the weather. Well, yesterday, right here in Massachusetts, we were clobbered with snow. I just heard today that Logan Airport got at least 8 inches of snow. We got a whole lot in my neighborhood, but, we were able to dig out, and we're here live and in living colors on Moments with Pastor E. So welcome to all of you. It's a little cold too, but we manage. We can do it. This is what we do. So this evening, I have with me a very special guest. And I always call my guests special. But this one is really, really, really special. She's been on the show before, and she has no idea what we're going to talk about, but it's all a surprise. But believe me, when we get together, we have a lot to talk about, so we're not going to be lost for things today. So on the show with me is Jermaine Dublin. Hi, Miss Jermaine. How are you?
I'm doing so fine.
So fine. You look so fine, girl. You look very fine. Welcome to Moments with Pastor E. So, we're just going to be talking. There's no agenda, okay? We're just going to free flow. Whatever comes to mind, we'll just talk about. First of all, and this is going to be a big surprise for you, just less than 2 years ago, you joined the Elite Club. You know what that club is? What's the Elite Club?
You tell me.
Being a grandmother. Let me tell you, to my viewing audience out there, when you become a grandmother, it's the best thing in the world. I have been a grandmother now for almost 11 years, and it's one of the best things that has happened to me. And so Jermaine decided to join this club less than 2 years ago, and I'm telling you, I think she's enjoying it more than anybody else. She even has a name. Her name is
Gigi. I don't know about decided to join the club because nobody asked me. I just graciously go along. But I'm the glorified Gigi.
Glorified Gigi. She is enjoying every moment of being a Gigi. Now, my name is Lola. There are a lot of people who give their daughters that name Lola, right? Mm. And they don't even understand where this name came from. But Lola is actually grandmother in the Philippines. It's a Filipino grandmother's name, Lola. Where did Gigi come from?
I can't even remember. It's grandmother, but I don't know which
culture?
Ethnicity, or culture it came from, but yeah.
That's okay. Wherever it came from, it's here. And her name is Jermaine, beginning with a G, so I think that's probably why she decided Gigi. Did you think about that?
Well, I kind of looked at all of the names, and Gigi, I like Gigi, so
okay.
I work with Gigi.
Yes, yes, that's what I did too. When I knew I was going to be a grandmother, because I didn't want to be called grandma.
No.
And I know some of you may criticize me on this, but it's okay. I didn't want to be a granny. I didn't want to be grandma. I didn't want any of those names. So I decided I was going to Google the grandmother's name in different cultures. And Lola was the one that stuck out to me. So I'm a Lola.
Yeah,
And you're a Gigi.
I'm a Gigi.
Okay.
I didn't like the sound of granny, grandma, gramps, gram, I didn't like any of those ones. So I kind of Googled it too, and I came up with Gigi.
Yes. See, that's what we do. We're special. We don't want to be called grandma. Nini's name for grandma is Glamour.
Okay.
Glamour.
I've heard of that one, Glamour. Yeah.
That is good, but that would have been difficult to roll off of people's tongues. So
Yeah.
I stuck with Lola.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are many songs out there about Lola. I'm sure some of you know those songs.
Yes.
Yes. So, how does it feel to be a grandmother?
Oh,
What is the
man.
best part of being a grandmother? Because I want our audience to know that the life of a grandmother is special.
I think for me, when I look at my grandson, I kind of remember when my daughter was that small, and I used to wonder when she was going to grow up. And when I look at her and I look at my grandson, I kind of just wonder. I look at them in amazement because I just, I didn't, intellectually I knew that they was going to come, but realistically you kind of, you're still amazed. And there's something about carrying on your genealogy, being able to have grandkids and look forward to great grand and all that kind of stuff. It's simply amazing. But my grandson is simply the best. I can't speak for anybody else, but my grandson is simply the best grandson ever. Even though sometimes I call him, he just ignores me and he doesn't pay me any mind and all of that. I it hurt my feelings, but
He's still
I love,
the best.
He's still the best grandson ever. He's just the best one ever.
Yes.
So, and the love you have for your grandkids, it's so different because you're at a time in your life when you could actually spoil them, spend time with them, just love them in a different way to how you were able to be with your own kids. And so I really appreciate it, and just, I just take every moment I get.
I know you do. And Jermaine, there was a time when there's some people who were ashamed to be grandmothers. I don't know if you ever knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Being a grandmother, people think you're old.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you old. That makes you in the category of the elderly.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you that's no longer the case. Being a grandmother is the best thing in the world. When my daughter was expecting her first, a few people told me, you may think that you love your children, and you do, but when the grandchildren come, it's just a different kind of love. Of course, you love your children, in one category, but your grandchildren, like you said, you get to spoil them. Mm-hmm. Most of the times you're not in the big hustle and bustle of things. You're a little more relaxed. Sometimes you have a little more money.
That's right.
Okay? Because you've gotten a better job over time, and so you can spoil them a little more. Mm-hmm. When you were raising your kids, I could talk for me. When I was raising my kids, it was always denying myself of something so that my kids can have something.
What they need. That's
what they need. But when your grandchildren came, it was a little different. I used to be in the store just buying, and after a while I had to say, no, you need to stop right here, because this is ridiculous, because the mom is buying everything and you're still buying. How much can this child wear? Like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. But it's the love you have for these little people.
Yeah, they just kind of grab your heart, and when and again, in addition to what you said, over time we get better jobs, but we're no longer responsible for anybody.
Right.
So that's income as well. So not that we're saying, we're rich in the Lord, but we and then we're open to to send so many more things, and we just want to see them happy, and they're like little princesses and princes and dolls, and we just can't get enough names, and they just, you just love them endlessly, and you just want to buy and just spoil them.
Yes.
In one word.
Yes.
Spoil them. You just want to spoil them,
For those of you who follow me on Facebook, it's the Princess Zoe and Prince TJ, because that's how we view them, right?
Right.
They are they're so special. Even sometimes they don't even want to give us the time of day.
I know.
You know what I went through with TJ. I mean, there were days when he would just walk by me, like you always say, like a full bus. He just passes me by and I say, come back here, say, and I have all this love to give, and after time, they really don't want it. You want to hug them, you want to kiss them, and they want to get away from you.
I know.
Like you were there.
My grandson does the same thing.
They don't want it. So, you feel a little hurt, and especially as they get older, certain things embarrass them. So they don't want to be kissed in front of their friends.
No.
They're off to school.
Not too much affection.
No. Keep that to yourself, Granny or Grandma or Lola or whoever you are, because we don't want it. I know you have it to give, but we don't want it. And now we have to beg for it.
I know.
Your happiest moment with them is when they were little.
I know.
When you can hold them, they can't speak back.
I can kiss them as much as you want.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but they're just little angels. They're amazing,
Yes.
And the joy that they bring you, and hopefully you bring to them, as a grandparent. It's just amazing.
It's amazing.
I wouldn't exchange it for the world. And I want to go back to something you said earlier about how people viewed being a grandparent very negatively. I remember when I became a grandmother, there are still people who try to make it negative. So
Really?
I have some friends that
in this
call,
age?
and they were like, oh, how does it feel to be a granny? They say, oh, I'm like, I had to ask one, are you trying to make me feel bad? Because just the way it was, oh, hello, grandma, okay, So I just went along and that cut out because it was like, it was ridiculous.
Yes.
Because there are people who still add a negative connotation to being a grandma. I love being a grandma. I was hoping to be a grandma at some point. And we're Christians, and thank God my daughter, serves the Lord, and she went and she got married and she had her son. I'm looking forward to more, should they decide to have any more.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to having amazing time with my grandkids, for me, there's nothing negative about being a grandmother, There's nothing negative about being a grandmother.
I thought that was over and done with.
No. A number of people. Hi, grandma. How is it being a grandma?
Oh, my goodness.
That kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I know when we were growing up, if somebody becomes a grandmother, you consider them old.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think in this age that people would still have that negative connotation to being a grandmother. Well, for those of you who are grandmothers, just be proud.
That's right.
Because like Jermaine said, it's seen one generation after the other.
Mm-hmm.
And just experiencing the fullness. And there's some people who don't have grandchildren. And As yet. And they may be a little, salty. But it's okay. The time will come that they will have their own grandchildren.
And then they get an epiphany. They say, that's what Pastor E was talking about.
Thank you. Because when someone said to me, you will love your grandchildren like nothing else. And it is the honest truth. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I love my daughter to life or to death. Mm-hmm. People don't want you to say love to death anymore because it's... But those grandchildren, she knows. Mm-hmm. When I go to the house, I am, hi, Aisha, hug, kiss, whatever. But let me see those grandchildren. That's who I want to see right now.
I know. Sometimes I forget. Like Shadow calls her, she calls me on the video, and I'm like, hey, Nate. Oh, Shadow, hi, how are you?
Our children become like second-class citizens. So some of you may not understand this because you're not a grandparent yet, but when you do experience it, experience it like Jermaine and I have, been experiencing it, you will understand exactly. Because I didn't understand what that means when someone says you are going to, be the doting grandmother. You're going to be that grandmother that, nothing would be able to separate you from your grandchildren. And it's the truth. So it's something to look forward to. Those of you who are joining me who have your children and, they're not married yet, they haven't had children yet, just wait a while. It's going to be the best season of your life.
That's right.
Because for me, this is it.
This is it.
This is it. This is it. The only thing better than this right now is heaven.
It's heaven.
Yeah. And you may say, well, why are you all talking about grandparents and grandchildren? Well, it's all part of our lives. It's all part
of our lives. It is part of our lives.
It's part of our lives.
And a very big part of our lives.
Very big part of our lives, because once we have children and they grow up, they become adults and they get married, the next thing you know, whether you like it or not, you better be prepared, because there are going to come along some little people. Some little people are going to come along, and you are going to be in your happy place. Because I am in my happy place when I see these kids.
Yeah.
So those of you who have grandchildren, what I say to you is to treasure them.
Yeah.
Try to keep the line of communication going. Try to be kind, gentle, and, loving to these grandchildren, because, you don't want to live with regrets.
Yeah.
That these children grow up and they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
They don't have a relationship with you. And one thing I try to do, and I'm sure you do the same thing, is leave the parenting of your grandchildren to the parents. What do you have to say on that?
Oh, of course. And I think that is one of the amazing things about being a grandparent, is that we just get time to spoil them. We don't need to be the disciplinary person. We don't need to be running to the school meetings. We don't need to be. We go to the nice events. When they're graduating or when they're moving from class to class, and when they're doing a little poem at school or whatever. But we don't, and their games. But we don't have to be the one to parent, to discipline. We don't have to be the ones to get up to run to the doctors. We're not dealing with all that, because we did that with our kids.
Right.
And so right now we're there to support our children, because sometimes they do need support. So we might be finding ourselves in a position where we're helping in a different way. However, that is not our day-to-day duty. That belongs to the parents. So you get time to enjoy them. And like Pastor E said, really, really enjoy them, because I enjoyed my grandmother. I remember my grandmother and my grandfather, who have both gone on to be with the Lord. Thank God they were serving the Lord, and I enjoyed having them. They spoiled us, I remember when I was young, if my mom cooked and I didn't want what she cooked, I just need to go to my grandmother. Wow. That's fine. She's gonna give me what I want. And it was great. I love my grandmother and my grandfather to death. So cherish your children, because they're going to remember. And even as time goes on and you get older, they will remember. So stay close, like Pastor E said, and keep the lines of communication open, and treat them well.
Yes.
Because sometimes you see some relationship between grandparents and children not so good. Treat your grandchildren well, because they will remember.
They will. And I bought a little shirt for Zoe one time that says, what happens at grandma's house stays at grandma's house. So the little cheating, there might be something that their parents really don't want them to have.
Yes.
And they come to grandma's house, they come to Lola's house.
Right.
Lola is going to do that. But, don't say anything.
Quiet about it.
Just stay right, let it stay here.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. We just spoil them.
Yeah.
And we send them back. That's the beauty about it. We spoil and we send
them back home.
But, when they go back to their homes now, their discipline continues there.
Yeah.
Mom and dad will do all the disciplinary actions, Yeah. We don't have to spank them. We don't have to smack them. We don't have to do any of that. Let mother and father deal with that part of it because they're not our children. They happen to be our grandchildren. And as you talked about your grandmother, unfortunately, when I came into existence, my father's mother was the only grandparent that was alive. My mom's mother, I never knew her. Her dad, I never knew him. My father's dad, I never knew him. But I remember my grandmother, and to this day, I am much older, and I have such fond memories of my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. She was the darkest skinned woman with the most beautiful, beautiful face. You know, she was dark skinned, but she was beautiful. And my fondest memories of her is every Sunday afternoon, we would go home from church because my parents were pastors, and we would have dinner. And after dinner, they packed her dinner. And that was my responsibility every Sunday afternoon to take probably about a quarter mile to her house so that she can have a nice Sunday dinner.
Yes.
My dad did that every Sunday for his mother. And to this day, I have not forgotten that.
Yeah.
And I remember going to her house, and she would hug me. She would kiss me because, of course, I don't know, you know, but her food is there. So she's happy. So she would hug me and she would kiss me, and I would give her the food, and then I was gone back home. I went back home. And it has stayed with me, Jermaine, all these years.
Yeah.
She was such a beautiful woman, and, you know, eventually she passed away. But that is a memory that I cherish.
Yeah.
And I hope that my grandchildren and your grandchildren would have some memories that you've made with them.
Yeah.
So that even when they themselves become grandparents, because I'm now a grandparent,
you could talk about
I could talk about
Yeah.
it. I remember it because it's so vivid. It was so vivid. And I think I held on to it especially because that was the only grandparent I knew. I didn't have the luxury of being raised by a grandfather. I don't know what that feels like. You had a grandfather, right?
I had one. I had one grandmother and one grandfather.
Yeah. So I don't know what that feels like. You can probably talk to that about, you know, what the relationship was with your grandfather.
Oh, my grandfather. I tell all people that I was my grandfather's favorite. And my grandmother's favorite. You know, you can call yourself their favorite.
Yes.
You know, that's fine, but I think I was their favorite. And so my grandfather, you know, he wasn't a guy who spoke a lot, but he really looked out for us, There wasn't anything that we needed that, you know, he wouldn't give to us. You know, we could go to the store, we can get anything from the store, and he'll pay for it when he comes home. You know, he was an amazing granddad. And he would take us in his truck. He had animals, and we would go with him to the hills to take, you know, go on his truck and go for a ride while he's going to look for the cattle and all that kind of stuff, and he's milking the cows and so on. So we had amazing memories with our grandfather. And, you know, he used to be a deacon in the church, and he, you know, everybody knew him for how he played the tambourine. Yeah, he was well known for his tambourine. But he was an amazing guy, and I was really honored to have. He died when I was around 16. He passed, but those first 16 years was amazing having him around. It was so much fun. So I you know, and like I said, that was the only grandfather. The other one I don't know, and I only knew one grandmother. But both of them were amazing, the ones that I knew.
And I knew your grandfather.
Yeah.
Because going back to the days back in Montserrat, where we had what we call quarterly, where every quarter the Pentecostal churches would come together.
Yeah.
And he was like the
star
of your church, Corkhill Pentecostal. He was the star there, you know. And so we hold on to those memories, and that's why we try to make memories
Yes,
with our
the
own grandchildren.
Yeah.
And you said something that your grandson is the best in the world, and that's okay. And that's for you to say.
I hope that it's okay with you.
It's okay, fine. Because I think, not to be biased, but I think that my grandchildren are the greatest grandchildren that ever walked the face of this earth. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can say that your grandchild is the best.
He is really the best.
Yes, yes. And mine is the best. So, hey, there's no hard feelings here. Okay? Our grandchildren are our grandchildren. And they're precious.
They're precious.
And we just want to continue to pray for every grandchildren, every grandchild, because we're living in such a wild world.
Yes, for sure.
We were just talking about that. Jermaine and I were out to breakfast and with a friend, and we were talking about the age that these children are growing up in.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is, the peer pressure, the anxiety, all the stuff that they face that we didn't face.
We didn't have to face.
We didn't have to face. Even our children weren't even brought up in that environment, Of course, I have one that was born here in the United States, so she witnessed and understood, some of this peer pressure and the bullying and the all the stuff that goes into growing up. And so for those of us who are grandparents, let us support our children.
Yeah.
Because it takes a village.
It does take a village.
And at first when I heard this, I was like, it takes a village.
Yes.
How does it take a village to raise a child?
Yeah.
At first it sounded, but it really is that we need a whole community to raise our children and now our grandchildren. All the support that we need prayer.
First of all. Yeah.
First of all, we need people to be praying for these children as they go out into the world every single day. And, they're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their identity. They're trying to sometimes fit into places that they shouldn't even try to fit into.
Yes.
But because of the different pressures, from their peers, they try so hard, and then they come home with all kinds of attitude and all kinds of stuff going on with them. So we really need to support our children in this way. Be there. Be a sounding board.
Yes.
If our children want to talk to us about their children, we should be there to listen. Right?
Should be. Definitely. And one of the things that we are grappling with now even more than ever is the suicide rate. Last night I was listening to the news, and they're saying it from last year to, I think it was last year to this year, it's up by 40-something% attempted suicide for young people. So these are the things that our children have to deal with. There's so many things that they have to deal with that we didn't have to deal with, that even us ourselves have to educate ourselves about these things. Because when I was growing up, suicide was something I saw in the movies or read about in a book. It wasn't even a part of my life. As a matter of fact, at home, where I grew up in the Caribbean, I don't know if I ever knew of anybody who committed suicide. On the islands?
No.
We never heard of that. So it's a change of life for our children, and even a different life for the grandkids. The pressures to perform and to compete and to be a part of it's huge now for these people. So in as much as we love our grandchildren and we think they're the best, and when they're little they're amazing because they do what we would want them to do, but when they go out into the world and they have to interact with the world, we want to be able to give them the right tools to go out there and interact with the world, and we want to make sure that us ourselves are there to support our children, just like Pastor E said, to help support the grandchildren. Because if we don't, we don't want to think of what the consequences could be.
Exactly. And even us growing up in the Caribbean, and we went to school and we did all the right things, and we got our education, and nobody was fighting anybody over a pair of sneakers or shirt or whatever. Now we are forced to pick the schools, even pick the schools that our children go to. Because by the time Nicola came, you know, I decided to put her in a Catholic school. One of the reasons being, you know, just the discipline around and the fact that they had to wear uniforms.
Yes.
So that nobody's competing against anybody. Everybody has the same uniform, which is nothing to really covet.
Yeah.
It's just a, you know, top and skirt or whatever, or top and pants, whatever it is. So they never had to worry about, oh, you're wearing that sneaker and I need it. And, you know, kids get into fights over all that stuff. And so, you know, it just pushes parents to do things outside the norm.
Outside of the norm,
you know, or just to keep our children safe.
Yeah.
You know, and so I encourage every grandparents to be, because someday you probably will be, to just be supportive, be there, be the hand of God extended, so that you can pray for your children and their children, and you can help to guide them, help them, you know, because what I don't do as a grandmother is to speak to the children directly if I feel something about them, because I don't want them to grow up with this idea that I'm always correcting them. You know what I mean? We have to be so careful. So if I notice anything, I'm going to say to the mother or to the father, this is what I'm noticing. You know what I mean? And so there's such a fine line, you know, between what we can do as grandparents and what we shouldn't do.
What we shouldn't do,
you know, we have to be wise. And even as Caribbean parents, we come from this background of saying it like we see it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And calling it what it is. But we have to understand it's a new day. It's a new age, and we're dealing with more fragile kids.
Yes. Very touchy.
Kids whose emotions are always flying.
On their shoulder.
Yes. Yes. So we have to be so careful.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So these are the two grandmothers here, the two fly grandmothers.
Yes.
Lola and
Gigi.
I'm so happy that you took the time, Jermaine, to come on the program with me. And I just want to thank all of you for viewing, thanking you for your support. And I just want to wish all of you, it's almost done, happy, what am I saying? Black History Month.
We're coming to the end, yes.
We're coming to the end of Black History Month, and we just want to celebrate how far we've come.
Yes.
Because as a people, we have come very far. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Yes.
There's some unraveling that is happening all around the country, but we're going to be steadfast and unmovable, and we're going to continue to pray and ask God to just turn the tide and to keep things going so that we don't go back to an age of Jim Crow. We're not going back there.
Yes.
We're moving ahead. The past is over, and we are just moving ahead as a people.
Yes.
Sister Jermaine, I want to give you the last word. If you want to say anything on Black history, go ahead.
Yes, so with Black History Month, you know, even as we spoke about being grandparents, it kind of takes you back to the time when there's some people who couldn't celebrate being parents as Black people because of how things were and the separation and family being broken up and so many people. So we do appreciate where we are today, that we can sit here as proud grandparents and be able to support our family. So as we were saying earlier in the Pastor E was saying earlier, you know, just appreciate it, enjoy it, and cherish it, because, you know, believe me, these children are going to grow.
Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you so much. And I just want to wish all of you again, happy Black History Month.
Happy
It's
Black
over.
History Month.
It's over on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday is the 28th. Who would believe that we're going into March on Tuesday?
Yeah.
But whatever is left, celebrate yourself. Celebrate your victories. Celebrate, no matter how small the victory is, celebrate it. And I'm very proud to be sitting here on New England Christian Television as a black woman.
Yes.
With another powerful black woman, nurse, RN. She got all kinds of letters behind her name, but her resume is so long, we can't go there today. So we're very, very proud, because if we look at maybe 70 years ago, it wasn't that long ago.
Wasn't that long ago?
When we didn't have this privilege.
Yes.
But like I always say, and I love this line, we now have a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hold on to our seat, and we will never give up our seat for anyone else.
And anyone else.
God bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Until next week at 3 p.m., this is Pastor E saying goodbye, and I love you.